Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But it comes at a price. Samantha Horwitz and John Salerno work with police departments across the country to bring valuable recovery, insight resources, and workshops. A Badge of Honor TV brings those professionals to you so we can come together and revitalize communities through a better understanding of what's at stake and what's required for repair. So take a load off and turn up your TV. It's about to get real.
Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam. We are powered by the OBBM network, and you can catch us on all your streaming platforms across wherever you stream your platforms. You can probably catch us. Welcome, Sam.
Hey, John. Yeah, we are welcome Rumble family. Hello, LinkedIn. Hello, Instagram. Hello, X. Hello, OBBM. We love our audience at OBBM. And just wherever you are watching, hit the like, hit the subscribe so we know you're there. We have got a live comment stream open again. If you can see it wherever you are watching from, you can go ahead and send a comment. And hey, YouTube family as well. It's been a busy time, John. Very, very, very busy.
And that's busy is good. Busy is good. As long as we stay mentally healthy and don't overdo it. You know, we always got to take time for ourselves. And that's going to be a word that I'm going to say for all our law enforcement officers across the country. You know, the climate is changing. It's a lot different than the 80s and 90s and even the early 2000s. You know, the culture has changed. And now even the easiest details where either it's a rodeo or spring break or something else where you can get the people watch and interact are turning into now riots. And it's heartbreaking to see that the law enforcement are becoming overwhelmed and outnumbered by thousands of partygoers or thousands of event attendees, and they can't handle the situation because they are understaffed. And we keep talking about defunding and not putting people up there. And the reason people aren't becoming law enforcement anymore is because the politicians have demonized law enforcement to a point where you don't want to be a cop anymore. I remember back in the 80s and 90s, everybody wanted to be a cop, a fireman, a paramedic. You know, that's what they wanted to do. They want to do civil service. And now we are getting fewer and fewer recruits to join the academy because they, even if they love the job, they don't want to step into the role because of the current climate our politicians set. We have to show accountability. These poor men and women who are fighting crime each and every day or going to these details, they are high-paid babysitters because people in our country do not know how to act anymore. They act like animals. They have no discipline. Everything turns into a riot, and it's sad. And my heart bleeds for every law enforcement officer out there today.
Yeah, and the ones that, you know, answered the call, that especially this past week with all of the shootings and the IED attack in New York, everyone watching, we were talking about before the show, it will be an iconic picture of the chief, one of the chiefs jumping the barricade and tackling this one of the suspects. But to have the mayor do what he did, and it's really tough, but know, just like we end every single show, know that you have communities and prayer warriors out there. First of all, people that do appreciate what you do every single day to keep them safe. And we've seen it before. The tide shifts, especially when those, you know, screaming partygoer rioters become victims of crime, and they're wondering, you know, either what happened or the police are do their job, because that's what we do, and they change their tune and like, no, we need to support law enforcement. So thank you to everybody.
I hope it changes. You know, I was watching a YouTube video today back in New York where people are going up to cops and just baiting them with their cell phones in their face, baiting them, calling them all these derogatory names, coming, I mean, with inches of them. And, you know, the cop wants to just be a cop, but he can't because he knows he's going to be at fault on it. When's it become the norm that we can tell a cop to go F off, call his mother a whole bunch of names, scream in his face, spit on the ground where he walks, and demonize him in a public setting? When does that become the norm? And now it's a video that people are just trying to get likes off of.
Right.
What kind of people are? I blame the parents. Who's raising these friggin' kids?
Well, unfortunately, if you look a lot, it's not just kids; it's full-grown adults.
Oh, yeah,
yeah, as well, that are acting a fool.
I call them kids. They're in their 20s and even early 30s. But how were you raised? It's just a horrible, horrible thing when people do that.
Yeah, well, our guest tonight is certainly no stranger, not only to dangerous situations, but he's been on long enough. He's seasoned like we are. We're not old here. Seasoned to have seen the tide shift with law enforcement as well. So let's bring on Sergeant Michael Barron, retired now. Hey, Mike, welcome to A Badge of Honor TV.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. Hey, tell everybody watching and listening on their favorite podcast app about you and your background.
Well, most people know me from the blues. I actually started that police magazine back in the 80s. And we're in our 42nd year. We grew that from what was back in the 80s. We probably had about 20,000 people in the state of Texas. And we have about 6.5 million worldwide in 22 countries now that read the magazine. So has really grown. Have seen my time on the street, and like John, I've got about 35 hours of law enforcement. And to John's point, people don't have respect for the police anymore. That's the problem. When we were growing up, you didn't dare disrespect a police officer, because if you did, they're going to take you behind a building and beat the crap out of you.
Or when you got home.
Yeah.
Or when you got home, you got beaten by your parents.
Oh yeah, you didn't want the cops knocking on your door with holding on to you, saying, "Is this yours?" Because when your parents got a hold of you, it was nothing compared to what the cop was going to do. But in our day, if somebody needed help, we would jump in and help them. If a cop needed help, we would jump them. Today, the only thing you're going to see is this: people with their camera out filming the whole thing. You could be dying. No one's gonna save you. No one's gonna lift a finger. What they are gonna do is they're gonna videotape it. So if somebody wants to know what happened to you, I guess you could ask everybody standing there. But it's a pretty sad time that we live in, that you really can't count on anybody to come to your aid at all. And
the ones that would come to your aid right now, because I'm sure there are people out there that will, they're scared to.
Oh yeah,
they're worried,
Yeah.
and that's a shame.
Yeah, and if you look at the people that go to the rodeo, you mentioned the rodeo. Actually, my daughter and grandkids are at the rodeo today. The people that go there, it's like they have no self-respect at all. If you look at the way these people dress, the way they act, and the people at the carnival before the rodeo, I would say is directly that group is reflected on what the event's going to be that night, depending on what they have. And, if it's a country event, then you got a lot of country people. If it's a rap event, then you're going to have a lot of rapping people. And, it really depends. And what really happens, I think, out there, having worked that for years and years from security, is when you have two different kind of groups that come together. And so they take it out, and they fight, and they shoot at each other.
You're gonna clash.
So it's not the family event that it used to be.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, you did all your work I'll say down south in Texas, in Houston, correct?
Houston and Galveston, yes.
Okay, so Galveston, it's spring break. Hello. So but Houston, it's a very large city, very different. John and I live up here in North Texas, closer to Dallas, which is a growing city itself. But Houston definitely has the bigger numbers. And you have had the opportunity over your 35 plus year career doing a lot of different things. And we had shared stories at a conference once about some stories, you in a helicopter. And when we come back from our first break, I want to talk a little bit about some of your flight time, because people don't really, they see a helicopter flying, but they don't really understand but the behind the scenes and what goes into that. And frankly, how difficult it can be and how, you don't want to crash. So we're gonna take our first break and hear from Patriot Mobile, a company that supports certainly our values, supports first responders, supports veterans as well. So stay tuned. We will be right back, everybody.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever, every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
All right. Hey, Patriot Mobile has an amazing deal right now. If you call 972-PATRIOT and you get to talk to somebody in Texas, they're in North Texas, you can mention badge, the promo code badge, tell them a badge of honor sent you. You get a free month of mobile service. This means you can try it out. So you're bringing your phone, you're bringing your number. There's no switching if you don't want to, and you're able to use your same network if you wish. It's a matter of putting your money where your values lie, and also you have a voice in the way you spend your money with Patriot Mobile, not like the other big 3 that just take your money and do whatever the heck they want with it. So 972-PATRIOT, use promo code badge, or if you want to go online, patriotmobile.com/badge, you'll land on our landing page. Just fill out the information. A representative will give you a call. Trust me, you'll want to switch today. We've been customers since 2021. It's one of the best things we did for our entire family. So with that, back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam. We're welcoming our guest, retired Sergeant Michael Barron, the founder of the Blues magazine, the online publication with over 6 million subscribers. You've been in business for 42 years. You have an extensive law enforcement background. Mike, it's an honor to have you on A Badge of Honor.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be with you too.
Before we left, Sam was talking about some helicopter and don't crash.
From your book. So Michael's also an author. In addition to the magazine, the huge publication, he wrote an amazing book. I'm still waiting to get my autographed copy. I was told it would be here by the end of the week, maybe early next
those
week.
will be coming soon.
There it is. There it is.
In the next 2 weeks. So, yeah. Well, we were talking about, I guess I was telling Sam some of my quote war stories, and that's really what the whole book is about. And I know that any of your listeners are police officers, you two know this. You sit around in a group and you tell the stories, and someone always says, you should write a book. Well, writing a book and actually doing it are 2 different things. But I did take a lot of the stories from not only flying, but my time on the street. And there's a whole section, it's called aviation. And there was actually as many things going on at the airport where we had our office as there were that we had flying. We had one article or one chapter in the book is about 3 crashes in one day. We had, because we were the only law enforcement on the field, people would come in, and one story was that I was in my office, and one of the clerks came in and said, hey, there's a couple of old country people out here that want to talk to you. And I went, the hell is country people? So I went out. There was 2 people there from Arkansas. And I said, can I help you? And they said, well, we were coming across that big bridge, and this airplane come out the sky and landed on the top of our camper and went back up in the air. And we want to know if y'all got him out of the drink or not. And I went, what? And I said, what do you mean he landed on your camper? And he said, yeah, come on out. I'll show you. So I went out in the parking lot, and sure enough, there's like 2 tire marks that went right across the top of this guy's camper. Whoa. And I said, okay. And I walked back in, and I said, and when I noticed it when I got here that day, that there was a Cessna sitting out on the ramp. And I said, well, what does this airplane look like? And he goes, well, it was red and white. It's a little thing. I went, you know what? I think I know where that is. I put him in the lobby, and I went to pilot's lounge, and there was like this 19-year-old kid sitting there. And I walked in uniform, and he looked at me, and he goes, am I under arrest? And I went, where did you come from? And he said, Little Rock. And I said, come with me. I got some folks to meet. They want to meet you. So I went out in the lobby, and I said, you want to tell me what happened? He goes, well, I was on my cross country, and there was fog, and I was landing, and I thought I was on the runway. But then I dropped out of the clouds, and then I guess it wasn't the runway, and I hit something, and I went back up in the clouds, and I landed, and I went, you know you're not supposed to fly in the clouds, right? He goes, yeah. So anyway, I put the 2 of them together. They told their story. And then it wasn't too much longer after that. I got a call at like 4 a.m. that an airplane. There was another little Cessna that was trying to land in the fog. He didn't make it. And later that day, we had an airplane take off it had been sitting out on Bolivar for years. And this guy bought it, and he was going to fly it to Denver. I said, dude, that airplane's not going to make it to LaPorte, much less Denver. So he took off. We're all standing out there watching him, and he takes off. He gets to the end of the runway, and the left engine just flames out, and it's on fire.
Oh, gosh.
So he turns, and he's going to try to come back and land. He didn't make it. He took the top off of one of the beach houses over on the golf course and crashed on one of the holes. Well, while that was going on, another airplane, they saw the fire, and these 2 guys are looking out the window, and they're not paying attention. And they landed, and they forgot to put the gear down.
Oh, jeez.
While we're tending to the guy that was in the plane, they're sliding across the runway, and I went, this is ridiculous. So all of
their flight schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about, we talk about often the officers that are on patrol going from one call to the next, and you're just in your office, and it's like boom, 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 all with planes, and that's just some of the stories, because you have, and those are, they're not funny, but cops were allowed to laugh because, we're not robots, as John always says. Humor. And we do have humor. We have dark humor, but some of your experiences on patrol kind of left some, I'll say, lasting effects. And you have chapters about that, as well as, your brain gets affected and how you get through that.
I'm sure that in today, most officers that you see that get injured, they're on traffic, and they get hit by cars, or their car gets hit. And even back in the 90s, I was well aware that was probably one of the most dangerous things you can do. And so I'd made one traffic stop, and guy wouldn't get out of the car. Well, in the 90s, if a guy didn't want to get out of the car and he had a warrant, well, you just took his window out, drug him out, took him to jail. Well, apparently my captain didn't like that. So he gave me 3 days off and said that I hadn't used good judgment. So not more than a week later, I stopped another lady on traffic. She rolls her window down about that much, and she slides her driver's license out like it's a mail slot. And I ran her. She had warrants. And then I said, ma'am, she didn't have any clothes. She had a shirt on, but that was it. Where are your clothes? And she said, I'm not allowed to talk to you. And so she rolls her window up. And I'm like, okay, you need to get out of the car. She said, my boyfriend says I'm not allowed to talk to cops or strangers, and I can't roll my window down. So I didn't want to get another 3 days off. So I called for a wrecker. A wrecker showed up, and I said, load it up. We're going to the station. And then he looks in there and he says, what about the lady in the car? I said, you know what? She don't want to get out. She's going. He goes, isn't that against the law? And I went, not that I'm aware of. So let's go. And so I called a dispatcher and said that I'm en route with a lady. She's in the car. She's not getting out. And she said, do you have mileage? And I went, no, she's in her car. I don't need to give you my mileage. So the jail's all waiting. I told them I had an unruly, half-naked female. Of course, there were like 50 of them standing outside. They go running over to the back of my car. And I said, what are you doing? She's in her car. You towed her to jail in your car? Yep. So captain calls me in Monday morning and says, what is wrong with you? What is wrong? I said, he goes, what are you talking about? He goes, you towed a lady to jail? And I went, yeah, last time I broke their window and he told me not to do that. And he goes, and you think this is better? And I went, yeah, I didn't break their window out. And he goes, you had a choice. You can get another 3 days off or you can do community service. And I said, the hell does that mean? And he goes, Tascasita's having a carnival this weekend. We need cops out there. So, I'll do that. So I go out there. You know what my community service was? 2 days in a Dunka cop booth.
Oh.
Not a good thing.
Should have taken it 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. This is my whole career. It was just one thing after another. And,
but this is, there's so many books out there where everything is so heavy, right?
Right.
And the fact that you were able to weave in these really funny stories because, like you said, a half-naked woman getting towed, of course there's going to be like a line of people outside the jail and the whole dunking story. But we got to take our next break. We are going to turn it a little bit serious when we come back. Because, again, it is Houston. So stuff has happened over the years. And again, get into while those funny memories will stay forever, there's also some kind of horrific memories and crime scenes and stuff as well. So we're going to take our next break. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay tuned.
Look, when you need to respond to an aggressive situation to protect yourself, your family, or your property, understanding your firearm and legal position are critical. Officers know your skills are only as good as your commitment to training. So know what you're doing. So when you're in a vulnerable situation, we can count on your response. Whether you're a beginner or a licensed gun carrier, Carry in Texas offers basic firearms training, Texas permitless carry courses, license to carry, and basic 2A courses so you can understand the responsibilities, situational awareness, and learn the technical skill required when you carry your firearm. Go to carryintexas.com to find the right course for you. Join me, former United States Secret Service agent Samantha Horwitz on the range for beginner basics, LTC prep, and range practice. Go to carryintexas.com today. That's carryintexas.com.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam. We have retired Sergeant Michael Barron, the founder of the Blues magazine, which now has over 6 million subscribers. You just published a book called the Thin Blue Line.
Yep.
The Thin Blue Line, which is now available for purchase. You've had such an amazing career through aviation, through disciplinary actions, towing women. So, you have a lot to offer our young cops. You have a lot to offer our old cops. So I'm glad everybody that's listening to take heed to what you're saying.
Seasoned.
Because what you bring to the table, Mike, not only in your magazine or your book and your voice, is you bring some humor to what you've dealt with throughout your career. And we all have that dark side. We all have that dark humor that not many of us understand, only other first responders. But like Sam said before we left, there is a heavy side that always weighs on you, and being a patrol cop in Houston, I'm sure you've had many heavy jobs.
Well, the funny thing is, well, I guess it's not funny now, but I had been involved in 2 officer-involved shootings. And the first time that you're involved in an officer-involved shooting, I probably arrested thousands of people, read their rights to them 1,000 times. It was the first time I ever had rights read to me in the back of a Crown Vic. And I was like, well, that was different. So that was scarier than the actual shooting.
Yep.
Was, and it was like, well, this is going to get real. And luckily I had a good DA shoot team both times. It said, hey, you don't have to say anything, wait for your union rep and your attorney. And I went, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
They make you look to be the bad guy sometimes.
Yes, yeah, exactly. The first time we got involved in shooting, it was involved in a chase, and I didn't get hit. The second time, which is in the book, I stepped up on the side of an 18-wheeler, and he shot at me, and I shot at him at the exact same time. Well, he just sat in the truck. I fell out of the truck because I was standing on it. So young cops, I would say, probably don't stand on the top step of a truck at night with a flashlight in one hand. And, I didn't have my gun in my hand. I think I did, but I had my radio and I was holding on to the door. Well, I let go of the door to grab my gun. Well, when you shoot, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to fall. And so after that, I had a recurring dream for weeks, if not months after months, of chasing a guy through an alley. I had a revolver at the time, and you're pulling the trigger and it's just going click, click, click. And I had that dream over and over and over again. Finally, after some 20 years or whatever, never had it again. And it was my PTSD. I dealt with it. And I told Tina Jekyll that works for us here, after I finished the book, I'll be damned if I didn't have the same dream again, because I had relived all that stuff in this book.
Yeah.
And it happened. It was the exact same dream. Now, how do you have the same dream after 30 years?
It's taking parts of your memory back.
So after about 3 times, I called Tina and said, hey, I'm having this dream, and she says, yeah, well, this is what you do. What can I do about it? She goes, well, Michael, sooner or later it'll go away. And I go, that's your advice? She said, I got to wait. I could have told myself that. And she said, well, I don't know what you want me to tell you. And I said, I don't know. I thought you had some magic trick. She goes, no. She goes, and I said, well, why is it the exact same dream every time? And she goes, it's just part of the process. So, you find your own way to cope with it. And I guess I was lucky that I was able to find a way to cope with it. And maybe it was because of all the stupid crap I was doing that it kind of overwhelmed that. But getting shot wasn't the best thing in the world. It wasn't a pleasurable experience, but
it's better than crashing in a helicopter.
Huh? Yeah.
Better than crashing in a helicopter.
Well, yes. And it's funny that Sam brings up aviation, because I think I told her a story. So I told the sheriff, because I was actually went to Galveston, I was assigned to beach patrol. And he said, well, after about 6 months, he said, well, how do you like Galveston, the beach patrol? I said, well, first of all, there's no Pamela Sue Anderson that works for us. I don't know if that's not happening. And I said, all the trucks don't have air conditioning, and everybody's drunk, and they're all in the water, and you got to pull them out. And he goes, well, what do you want to do? I'd like to learn how to fly. I mean, aviation. He goes, oh, you have a pilot's license? No. And he said, well, you don't have a pilot's license. How are you going to be in aviation? I said, well, you tell me I'm going to be in aviation, I'll get a pilot's license. So I did. And he said, well, why do you want to do that? And I said, well, it's better than patrol. At least people are not shooting at you. And I swear, one of the first calls I made was Texas City had one of their detectives come out and said, hey, we're going to run a raid on a drug house, and we want to go up and do airborne surveillance. Okay, fine. So we went out there. We get there at like 5:30 in the morning. We're waiting for sun to come up, and we start circling this house. And I have this detective with me, and the ground units said, "Hey, Air One, do you see anybody out there?" And I looked at him. I said, "You see anybody?" And he said, "Nah, I just see some dude with a broom." And I started circling. I thought, "Dude with a broom." And I looked out and I go, shit, that's not a broom. And I turned the airplane and I got on the radio, and about that time I heard blink, blink. And the dude was shooting at us. Yeah. And I'm screaming in the radio saying, the dude's shooting at us. I said, shots fired at the police. Well, he's yelling at them. I'm turning away, and he looks at me, and he didn't want to fly anyway. And he said, are we going to die? And I said, I hope not. And so I went over. 500 feet off of. Usually what they tell you in an airplane is if something happens, you want to get altitude. You want to go as high as you can, as fast as you can. That way, if the engine quits, you can glide. I went the opposite way. I was like 250 feet over Galveston, and I drove 45 all the way there. And he goes, "Why are we so close to the ground?" And I said, "Because if that guy hit one of our oil lines or fuel lines, this thing will catch on fire, and you're going to want to be close to the ground." And he's like, "Wow, that's not good." I went, "No, that's not good." And we got it on the ground. They took the cowling off the airplane and found out that it missed the fuel line by 1/4 of an inch. And that's how lucky we were. So the sheriff, we didn't tell him about it for a long time. And I think it was when we sold the airplane, it had 2 bullet holes in it because we didn't fix it. And he said, "You gonna ever tell me that y'all got shot at?" I said, "Excuse me?" He goes, "You know what I'm talking about. I heard that y'all sold that airplane that had 2 bullet holes in it." Yeah, by the way. And he's like, "Yeah, that's not cool." And I said, "Well, apparently I was wrong. They do shoot at you in airplanes." So,
wow.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's not safe no matter where you are.
Well, Dr. Tina Jekyll is a regular contributor to the Blues PD Mag. She writes amazing stuff. She is an incredible healer, has really saved the lives of a lot of deputies and just folks beyond the departments that she's in. So I'm glad that you always have her as a resource. We got to take our next quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about, hear some more stories from the book and tell people how they can get their copy. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Interested in starting a podcast or TV show? Worried about what you'll say and how to keep it engaging? Think you'd like to be a guest on podcast, radio, or TV shows? Hi, I'm Susan Hamilton, owner and founder of OBBM Network, and I would like to invite you to an OBBM media training to get the tools you need for a relaxed and polished performance you'll be proud to share. Our specialized training techniques include role play, voice training, and everything you need to deliver a confident, clear, and engaging interaction. Go to offbeatbusiness.com. Go to the calendar and register for a training that's convenient for you. Dates available now, 214-714-0495.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor TV with John and Sam and retired Sergeant Michael Barron, telling us some war stories from the past, but that's going to all be in your new book. So we don't want to divulge too much. We're going to let the readers get the book as well. We don't want to give all the stories away. So, Mike, through the Blues magazine, through the Blues online subscription, the book that you got coming out, man, you are a busy guy. What is your day filled with? Somebody said, "How do you enjoy retirement?" And I go, "I'll let you know when it starts." I'm this is no kid. I do more work being retired than I ever did when I had a job. I mean, it's the Blues used to be when in 2019 we decided to take it digital, and I thought, I'll spend 5 days a month doing it. Won't take long. I barely get 5 days off a month right now. So with the book tour starting and the magazine, I do stay pretty busy. But I know a lot of people that spent 25 years in law enforcement. They retire, and then the next thing you know, you read in the retirement thing that they've all passed away, because they don't have. People think that you're going to spend all this time, and when they retire, well, they're going to go fishing or they're going to do whatever, but they don't do that. They don't do anything. And there's no way that you can survive if you're doing nothing. We were all put on this earth to do something, and you have to do. It sounds great that you're going to just sleep in every day and not do anything. I'm a firm believer that you need to have a purpose in your life. And if you're going to retire and you see retirement in your future, you need to map out what you're going to do right now when you retire. What is your next? A lot of cops, they'll retire from their one job. They go into school. They're doing the school cops, the resource officer. Yeah, resource officers or what have you. Whatever it is, you don't have to continue being a cop, but you got to plan something in your life. And a lot of people ask me, said, whether people know it or not,
how I got the idea for the blues, the two most widely read sections of the magazine are the war stories and aftermath. And I really stole that from being a pilot in early years. I used to subscribe to the Flying magazine, and Flying has the same thing. What you learned about flying was one section, and the other one was called aftermath. I used to open the magazine, and that's the first two things I'd read because it was the two best things in the magazine. Ironically, in the blues, when we look at the page reads of what we have, those are the two most wide read. And these are
the third one is the badge of honor, right? The third one is the badge of honor.
Yeah, exactly, which follows right behind aftermath. But officers can, you can be in the next book because there will be another book. And if you want to be in that book, and then send your stories in to the newspaper and to the magazine, and let us print your story, and then maybe you'll get added to the book. Really that was kind of like it. When I first started, I go, maybe one day I'll put all these together in a book. Well, I kept saying that, and 40 years went by, and finally it was, even when I decided I was going to do it, it still took about 3.5 years to actually put them all together. And one thing that a lot of people don't know is I don't read a lot of books, and I really wasn't that familiar with it. Sam's published a book, but I hadn't done that before. And so I had a publisher that I was going to use, and I sent them. They said, well, just send us everything you have. So I put all the war stories together and sent it to them. And this young lady called me up, and she said, Mr. Barron, do you know anything about books? Not really. Well, do you know how long most books are? How many words? No, I don't know. They're 200 or 300 pages, I guess. And she goes, well, you know how many words that is? No. Do you have any idea how many words you sent us? I said, I don't know how many questions are there going to be at this phone call. What do you want to know? She goes, you sent us 155,000 words. I said, is that a lot? She's like, yeah. Most books have like 100. I said, oh, so you want me to edit it down? She goes, yeah, you got to eliminate some of these stories. So that was another editorial I wrote for our magazine was, well, whose story are you going to leave out? Is that going to be the young lady that worked at the apartments and she came up missing and we didn't know what happened to her, or the 4-year-old that wound up in a bio that we saved, or the 5-year-old that we didn't save? Or, you went on and on and on. It's like, well, what am I going to do that? So I eventually cut that down, sent it back to them. And so I don't know how many words are in it now, but there's not 155,000. But the stories are down for sure. But it's a good book. People that have read it said that they read it in 2 days. They said that it was funny and then it was heartbreaking. And the last chapter of the book, you're not going to read that chapter without at least shedding a couple of tears. It's definitely the saddest part of the whole book.
Well, we'll leave people on the cliffhanger so they have to get it. Where do they get the book?
So they can go to right now, bluespdmag.com /thin blue line, and you can buy one from us. You can get an autographed limited edition copy, and I think there's about 13 more of those left. For $32.
I'm ordering mine tonight. 12 left. I'm ordering mine.
Well, there you go. 12. Or you can just buy the regular edition, which we're selling for $25. At the end of the month, March 31st, it goes on sale on Amazon, Apple Books, and it's $32. So we do have some left, and we'll autograph it for you, or you can come to one of the mini book signings, and we'll have all of those locations for the book signings on the website as well. The first one we'll do will be the Police Chiefs Association meeting or conference, which will be in Corpus the end of March and the 1st of April. So we hope to see everybody there. And I appreciate you guys having me on. It's such a great experience being back on the show. And
well, it just I remember again at the conference that we were at, and you were telling me how, how do you eliminate stories? And I was, your career and all the stories that you shared with me, I was like, that's what people want. So don't eliminate the stories, just publish it yourself. And that's what you did.
Yeah. And come out with volume 2.
Yeah, we'll come out with volume 2. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you guys need to send in your stories so that we can add those into volume 2. So
you described when you brought up the towing thing that you towed the female. I could send you this story if you want it for the next book. We were doing a surveillance on a narcotics spot back in the NYPD, and me and my partner were in this nondescript van, and we were sitting there for probably 9 hours before the place opened up. But we were in a no parking zone along Nostrand Avenue in Brooklyn, and all of a sudden we were exhausted. We're watching out the window, we're taking pictures. And all of a sudden, we feel a bump on the van, right? And it's one of those rotation tows. They towed the van with us in it, and they towed us down the road. And we're on the radio going, "Hey, listen, we're being towed." And they're like, "Where are you? We don't know where we are. We're seeing cars passing back and forth. We're falling all the way down to the back of the van."
That's pretty funny. Yeah, that would definitely be a good version for cops that are on patrol live these days.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But you described your book perfectly. Where you're gonna laugh, you're gonna feel a little bit heartbreak, and then you're gonna shed some tears. And that's the career of most law enforcement officers throughout our country. We have great times, we have great laughs. We're heartbroken at sometimes, but you know what? We all shed tears, and that means that we still feel something inside of us. It's when we don't shed those tears. That's a sign. Hey, we're a little too hardcore. Maybe we need some time to decompress and maybe talk to somebody. So I'm glad you explained it that way, because that is perfect.
Ironically, and I'll leave y'all with this, one of the most iconic people I ever met, I'd only been on the street for 2 years. I was at a police conference in New Orleans. I got in an elevator and heard this guy say, "Can you hold the door?" And Joseph Wambaugh walks in. And I was like, "Aren't you Joseph Wambaugh?" And he goes, "Yep, that's what the tag says." And he looks at me and he goes, "What are you doing here, Deputy Barron?" I went, "I'm here for a police conference. What are you doing here?" And he says, "Selling books, signing books." And I said, "So are you still a cop?" And he says, "Oh yeah, I'm still in LAPD." And I said, "So you're on overtime, comp time?" And he goes, "Vacation time." And I said, "Great." And he was probably on like his 5th book by then. And I actually have it on the wall behind me. So it was Glitter Dome. And he said, I thought that I always wanted to be a cop, and that, being an author was just something that came along. But he says, as it turns out, my life experiences being the cop is what led me to being the author, not the other way around. Yeah. So I thought, well, you know what? And I actually didn't write the book right away, but it inspired me to start the Blues Police newspaper 2 or 3 years later. And it was like, okay, you can't do one without the other. And he was a great inspiration. I met him several times after that. He was a really great guy. Most people today don't even know who he is. But
I didn't recognize the name, but I'm going to look him up.
Joseph Wambaugh. He had more police books and movies made than I think anyone else of the time.
I'm like you. I'm not a big reader, but I'm going to get, because I have short-term memory loss, so it's hard for me to keep track, but I'm going to read your book. But you know what? You brought up with writing, and this goes to all our law enforcement out there, and in any mental health capacity, journaling is one of the biggest ways to get all your feelings, thoughts, and anxiety out. And when you start putting it on paper. And Mike, is this what inspired that? I mean, maybe because you said you got some reoccurring dreams from it, but did it heal you in any way on some of those?
Well, I think so. And, from the Blues started in 84, and I'd only been on the street like 2 or 3 years. And, even people said, you don't have to rehash everything that happens to you on the street in the magazine. Well, to me, it was like therapy. And maybe that is, in fact, the reason that I never really had serious PTSD, is because everything, you want to know what Mike Barron was happening to him, just go read the Blues. And, the sheriff at the time, about 4 years after the magazine, he didn't care for it at all, the news sheriff. And he called me in one day and said, "You're not going to do this magazine anymore, or newspaper." And I said, "Well, I don't think you can tell me that." So my union rep showed up, They had a big screaming and yelling match. He came out and said, "You can go back to the station now." So I went back and I walked in. The captain said, "Well, how'd that go?" "Well, I still got a job." And he said, "You think that went all right?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I still have a job." And he goes, "You're on nights starting tonight."
Oh,
And I was like, "All right." I said, "That's all right. You know what? I can live with that." So I started to walk out the door and he says, "Don't you want to know the bad news?" And I went, "You changed my days off?" And he said, "Yeah, you're not off Friday and Saturday anymore." I said, "Monday, Tuesday?" "Well, you're close." "Tuesday and Wednesday?" "You're getting warm." "Well, what do you mean?" And he says, "You're off Tuesday and Wednesday." I said, "What? How can you be off non-consecutive days off on the night shift?" He goes, "You know what? The sheriff's department's 250 years old, and I don't think in the 250 years that anyone's ever had that before. So you like to call yourself a trendsetter." "Well, you're a trendsetter, all right, Mike Barron." So I said, whatever. You know what?
well, look where you are today.
Yeah,
Look where you are
exactly.
today.
All that time on the street at those odd hours gave you good writing time and good
Without a doubt.
stories.
Well,
You know
and
what?
ironically, the way I got back to days, I got back to days. Well, I got my days off changed, I should say. Eventually went back to days. But after I got shot in the shooting, my attorney went to him and said, if he was off regular days off, he wouldn't have been so tired and he wouldn't have got shot in the first place. And I said, "I don't know if you're helping me." He goes, "Just be quiet. I got this." And I said, "All right." And they wound up giving me a pretty good settlement out of it and changed my days off.
Oh,
Wow.
well,
I think
you know what?
Wednesday and Thursday. It wasn't anything great, but at least they were consecutive days off.
There you go. You know what goes great with a good book? A great cup of coffee to enjoy that book. And our partners at East Texas Legends Coffee Company have just that coffee you are looking for. East Texas Legends Coffee Company, founded by Ben and Amanda Holmes, reflects their journey from Ben's Marine Corps service and law enforcement career, overcoming PTSD to finding purpose in ranching. Relocating to an East Texas ranch, they identified a need for a local coffee brand. Now they're opening their first coffee shop in Lindale, Texas, rooted in faith, family, and community. Their mission: inspire purposeful conversations over coffee. Drink coffee, be legendary. Go to etxlegendscoffee.com. Use promo code BADGE for 15% off coffee and merchandise. They will ship it directly to you. That's etxlegendscoffee.com. Use promo code BADGE for 15% off coffee and merch. Got the merch right here. Got the
I don't have the merch, but I got the coffee.
I know where Lindale
coffee
is.
time. Yes.
Lindale and all that area, and Tyler. There are more retired HPD officers living in that area than anywhere else in the state of Texas.
Their coffee shop is coming along one step at a time. It'll be open soon, hopefully by the end of the year. But you don't have to wait till the coffee shop's open. They just go on the website. They will ship it directly to you. Cool. And it is amazing coffee. Diablo is my favorite. If you like a dark roast with zero acid, it is packed full of yummy flavor. So one more time, Mike, where can people find the book before it goes out to the web?
At the end of the month, Amazon, anywhere that you buy books, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. In the meantime, you can go to bluespdmag.com and you'll see at the top, it says Thin Blue Line. Click on it and you can buy either an autographed or just a plain book. And you can get them faster. We'll have it to you probably before they go on sale at Barnes & Noble.
And
I'm ordering it right now.
John's on it. John's on it.
We're gonna ship you this book. I'm not even gonna wait till the end. We're gonna send you. We have 2 books here right now, and I'm gonna send that to Sam and John right now. We'll give you the 2 that we have.
Awesome. Well, and you're gonna be. So there is a book signing tour again that is part of this. So the first one at the end of the month is going to be at the Chiefs Conference in Corpus Christi, right?
That's correct.
Okay, but they can find that on the website. Is that going to be general website?
We're going to have you can go to Blues PD Mag, and on the Thin Blue, there will be a separate listing of all of the book signings that we're going to have. And we'd love to come up in Dallas. John, you can find us a place to do a book signing, and we'll come up and do
Without
one
a
up
doubt.
there.
Yes, sir.
And be on your other show and do a book signing somewhere in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we'll do that soon. We'll do that this summer.
Yes.
I know that we're going to be at IACP, the Sheriff's Convention. We're going to be at the National Sheriff's Convention, Texas, the TCLO Convention. We're going to be quite a few.
Well, that'll be great.
And our new sponsor for the magazine is 511, and they are going to sponsor the book tour. And so we'll have some great products and be on the road with them.
Well, thank you, 511. I'm a huge fan. Know a couple of folks.
There you go. That's how easy it was.
There we go. We're gonna go. We're gonna go.
Package
this one up right now.
He's gonna autograph it and put it in. But
yeah,
it took me all of about 3 seconds to order that book. So much easier.
We're gonna. Yeah. I'm gonna sign that. I'm gonna put that to the great one. My buddy at NYPD.
There we go. Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming on. The book is great. I appreciate the pre-copy. Can't wait to get my limited edition copy. And we will definitely be seeing you on the road and seeing you soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on.
Tomorrow anyway.
Yes, everyone stay safe.
Tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Yeah, it is so much. It was so much fun talking to Mike and then seeing the stories in print. And who knows, maybe a podcast will come out of it. So where he's actually either reading the story, or telling people about the chapter and expanding on it, stuff like that. But there's so much more and so many more stories. There has to be a part 2. But I'm just so glad that it's out. So if you are first responder, family member, if you like reading real police stories, pick up the book. I'll put his website up one more time here, and it is.
It was so easy. I ordered while we were discussing, while we were talking.
Yeah. So if John can do it, everybody can do it.
If I can navigate through that, boom. So
go to bluespdmag.com. Up at the top, it says Thin Blue Line. Click on that. So bluespdmag.com, and then it'll change it to /Thin Blue Line. Grab your copy. There's only a few copies left to be shipped directly from Michael. So you definitely want to get that. And, to all of, we laughed. We know that police work always also has a serious side. So to all of our police officers out there, all of our first responders out there, know that you have prayer warriors that pray for your safe return home every single day. Thank you for what you do, keeping our community safe. For our veterans, thank you for fighting the good fight that allows John and I to do a show like this every single week. To our active duty personnel that is spread out across the globe. Things are hot right now. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We are praying for your safe return as well, and for the blessed memories of the 13 that we have lost over in the Middle East. Prayers to your family as well. Thank you for keeping our shores safe here at home. Hey, huge announcement. We have been selected to be nonprofit partners with Carry the Load again this year. Thank you, Carry the Load. If you're not familiar with them, go to abadgeofhonor.org, our website, scroll down to our partners and resources. They're on that first line. Click on it. Soon you will find out how you can support us through Carry the Load, and come on out to Dallas the end of May, Memorial Day. So that's Sunday, Monday, and participate and give back there. We also want to make an announcement to our partners at Responders Retreat, Liz and Joe Bartholomew. You can go to firstrespondersretreat.org. They've got their retreat up September 28th through October 2nd in Three Lakes, Wisconsin, which is now under snow right now. But at that time of the year, there's no snow, so you don't have to worry about it. They got hit with a blizzard like last night. It's crazy, 2 nights ago. So that's firstrespondersretreat.org, open to all first responders. So you want to register for that. And thank you again to Mike Barron. Get the book, laugh, cry, be warmed, have your heart warmed, and all the emotions in between. John, take us home.
All right, to every law enforcement officer out there, no matter how hard it gets, no matter what these people are saying, what politicians are saying, always go back to remembering your oath that you took. Stand by it, stay true to it, and stay safe. Peace.
Till next week, everybody. Take care.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBM Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBM Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.